This hold is actually pretty slippery. I mean, this is probably... So today's workout is going to be mostly quads dominant. Not quads, legs dominant. Started off with a little bit of backwards walking and lateral walking on the manual treadmill. Did that for 25 minutes till my watch said I burned 100 calories pretty much. Now moving into what's called kickstand squats, but with the SSB safety squat bar. This is what that looks like, and I'll be supersetting it with the kettlebell deadlift, but we'll get to that when it's time for that. Getting under the bar and stepping out, keeping one leg flat and then the other leg back, but not as back as it would be for a lunge, but back enough to where you're a little, I guess, off center. And then I'm gonna squat down. I'm gonna go for 5 each leg. The leg that's in front should be taking up most of the load. Switching legs. Taking my time. We're in no hurry. Fell a little bit off balance, but this is the reason why you need to take some time, is to find your center so that you don't injure yourself. I'm also way weaker on my left leg. After 5 each side, moving into some staggered kettlebell deadlifts. So pretty much same leg stance as that of the squat. And deadlift. Switching legs after 5. But yeah, the kettlebell movement is a hamstring dominant, and the squat is a quad dominant, supersetting those two, hitting both areas of the legs.
What he said.
So for the next exercise, doing lunges with the safety squat bar, and then I'm going to do a quad movement with the kettlebell. So, hamstrings feel a little weird, but it is what it is. Okay, so I'm gonna do 8 lunges each leg. I'm gonna alternate legs too. So 1, 2, I mean, this is probably well-known knowledge, but lunges are great for the hamstrings and the glutes. It's probably my favorite movement for hitting the hamstrings and the glutes from a strength perspective more than hip thrusts or anything like that. I mean, this might be controversial, but at least for me, I'm not a huge fan of hip thrusts. It's not like, I don't know, it's not a very functional move, in my opinion, maybe. And that might be a wrong thing to say. But, I mean, very rarely do you have to, like, do a lying hip thrust in day-to-day life. Except, well, with, like, lunges and stuff, it could come helpful in, like, hiking moves or climbing upstairs or something like that. Maybe my understanding is flawed, but at least that's kind of the way I think of things. And the mind to muscle contraction that I feel with the lunges. But the main reason that I like it more is the mind muscle connection that I feel with lunges is much better than the hamstrings. For the quad movement, doing goblet squats with the kettlebell. Going for 10. Quad dominant movement there. So hamstring squats, superset. And yeah, that's a superset for now. So for the next exercise, going to do landmine hack squats and superset them with staggered deadlifts, both on the landmine. So have the landmine on an elevated surface to kind of help get it off. Been doing about 3 sets of this, and this is going to be the second to last set. All right, let's get this done. I'm going for 5 each shoulder. This is a quad dominant movement and something that I really like doing. After 5 each side of that, Going for staggered deadlifts.
I'm sorry, guys.
So, gonna get into staggered position. Shut up. Okay, so getting into staggered position. This hold is actually pretty slippery, but it is what it is.
Put chalk if you guys
Yeah, put chalk if you guys have.
or straps.
Yeah.
Whatever. Don't use the, what do you call it? What is this one?
Kettlebell.
Yeah, use this.
But we also already did kettlebell. But we already did kettlebell in the first.
So what? It's slippery. Some people, they sweat like you.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm doing for now. Moving into some abs, specifically targeting my hip flexors and the lower abs. So, gonna put two 10-pound kettlebells around my feet, and hey, I'm recording. Yeah, no, it's fine. So having two kettlebells or a kettlebell on each feet. So I like doing this on a bench or an elevated surface because now when I lie down, you notice how the hip flexor is now stretched as opposed to if you were on a flat surface where the leg was straight. The hip flexors are going to start at a slightly less stretched position. So when your legs or when the feet are below the hips, the hip flexors are forced to start off in a stretch position, allowing me to get more range of motion, which is why I prefer doing it this way. So I'm going to leave one leg on the floor and lift the other leg up and switch legs. You can make the movement more challenging by forcing the other leg to be off the floor as well. But right now, I kind of just want to focus on the strength of each leg as the movement happens. But I want to have maintain that stretch. Also, leaving it on the floor allows the hip flexor to be relaxed in that stretched position as opposed to being contracted and having to maintain an isometric. So that's my reasons for doing it this way at the moment. That doesn't mean you should never do it the other way. There are days where I will do it the other way. Each way of moving presents its own challenges, and it's good to throw in all different kinds of variations and tempos. After doing 5 to 6 each side of that, making a slight change in the motion by bending at the knee. The other motion forces, so when you bring your legs straight up, uh, the hip flexor doesn't get to contract as much, and so it's a slightly more challenging movement to bring it up straight, but it also hits the hip flexors in a different way. Here, Here, when you're bending at the knee, the legs aren't outstretched, so it's like uh, when your legs are outstretched, there's more direct, like more load that the hip flexor has to hold on to. So when you do 5, you kind of get exhausted, but then you get to do more of on the hip flexor and burn it out a little bit more by bending at the knee. Also, the contractions are slightly different, but both movements you should feel it in your knee, or not knee, your hip flexors and your lower abs. But yeah, I'm gonna do these two movements for now. So today's workout was more leg focused. One might even say hypertrophy bodybuilding style with some I don't know. I don't know if you'd say with some, but I'd guess some of the more functional bodybuilding exercises. But even saying it that way kind of sounds weird. I just worked out. I worked out, and there was a lot of leg exercises, and we should just leave it at that. Um, let's check out the physique. Looking good. I don't know. Yesterday, I think I got too caught up in talking and I didn't really strike some of my poses really well. So, first, I'm going to strike some poses, then let's chat. Yeah. So, I like to do like asymmetric posing. So, where I'm at like an angle, or one hand's doing one thing and the other hand's doing another thing. Me personally, I think it's a good way. So with most people, their left and right sides aren't like 100% symmetrical. So with asymmetric posing, it lets like the viewer's mind kind of fill in the blanks. And so I think when you do asymmetric posing, a physique appears a little bit more symmetrical than. So like if you were to do it just straight up, I think the asymmetries are a lot more apparent versus if you do something like at an angle, one leg or one hand flexing and the other hand flexing. Plus, there's something about that that looks more aesthetic. The same thing can be applied for back, where where you're flexing one side and then spreading the other side. And then the other thing, as far as posing that you can do, is well, first off, you can build a lot of wide shoulders for the V taper. But one of the things you can do is like stand at an angle and twist your body into the mirror. This creates an illusion that like it goes from a wide top into a narrow bottom, giving a really good aesthetic look for pictures and for posing and stuff like that. Ooh, cramp. Let's do the other side too. Another thing that I notice people do when they pose is like kind of keep their arms low. Instead, it kind of gives like an illusion of a smaller physique. What you want to do is, if you're someone who shows a bicep like this, that's kind of silly. You want to like lift it up and kind of flare out your lats too. Anyway, I should probably head to the bus stop. And yeah, I think that's it for today's video. See you all tomorrow.